what the slope formula is. That's what, if I have 2 points there. Yes, Sam? Okay, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I don't know if you guys remember how to cross multiply. If I take this denominator and multiply it across, have we seen cross multiplying before? Yeah. Okay, so that means, and I'm going to write the y2 on the other side. So I'm going to have y2 minus y1 equals the slope x2 minus x1. Is everybody good with what I did there? I essentially multiplied both sides by the 8x2 minus x1, but I cross multiplied. I'm not showing it. I'm just moving it over. Okay, so essentially I'm making a different form of the equation of the line. And what, instead of using y2, if I replace it just with the variable y and x2 with just the variable x, I've created a new equation of the line called the point slope form, or slope point form. So if you have the slope and another point, you're able to graph it. Guess what else you can do? You can actually come up with the equation of the line. Okay? So we're going to use that form to graph this now. So if I look at this, I should be able to see the slope and a point. So compare this equation to this form. I'll even write it underneath if you want. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Can anybody tell me the slope of this line? Yeah, m equals negative 3 over 4. Can anybody tell me what the coordinate x1 comma y1 is? I'm sorry? Not 3, 2. Not 3 minus 2. Okay, so here's my x1, here's my y1. So can anybody tell me? First off, it's 2. And what is my y1? Is it 3? How would I get a minus there if that's a plus? It must be a minus then, right? Okay, so all I'm doing here is, what's in the brackets before? This? Oh, this is just x1, y1. My y is a little goofy looking. That's a comma. I don't even need to write that. I can just write the point here. There you go. Okay, so does everybody see how I'm getting 2? Do you see that? Minus is part of the form of the equation. So that means x1 has to be 2. And do you see, in order for this to be a plus, this really must be y subtract negative 3, because the minus is part of the form. So the y1 must be negative 3. Okay, so then how am I going to graph this? I put a point to negative 3, which is right there. And then I do a slope of down 3 over 4. So down 3 over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I connect the dots, and I'm done. Okay, so just to prove to you that that is actually the line I just graphed here, watch this, watch this. Okay, if I have y plus 3 equals negative 3 over 4 x minus 2. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I am going to multiply this in, yes? So I get y plus 3 equals, what do I get when I multiply negative 3 over 4 times x? Yeah, negative 3 over 4x. Okay, does anybody know what I get when I multiply negative 3 over 4 times negative 2? I'm sorry? I'll even write it down. Negative 3 over 4 times negative 2. Okay, we don't cross cancel? You see a cross cancel? Yeah, you can write 6 over 4, but that's not reduced. So 2 goes into 4 twice. So what is this really? Plus 3 over 2? Okay. Then how do I get it in y equals form? How do I get it in y equals form? Subtract 3. Okay. So I get y equals negative 3 over 4x. Does anybody know what plus 3 over 2 minus 3 is? It's 1? Wouldn't it be what? Yeah. It doesn't. We have to get a common denominator and put it together. This is like fractions going on here, right? You get 2? So just think about this logically. What's negative 3 over 2 as a number? Yeah, negative 1.5. And I'm positive 1.5. And then I'm subtracting 3. So 1.5, and I subtract 3. What do I have? Negative 1.5 or negative 3 over 2. And if you're thinking about this as how do I do this as fractions? This is 3 over 2 subtract 3 over 1. What does this become? 6 over 2. So what do I get? Minus 3 over 2. Same thing I got there. Okay, so what's this point right here? Negative 1.5. Then I went down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my other point. Do you see that's the same line? Do you see why I didn't want to put it in slope-intercept form? It's pretty ugly, isn't it, to graph it that way? Well, you could, but wasn't it easier just to pick off the point and then use the slope and then graph it that way? Yeah, okay, so that's what we're practicing today is using point-slope form or slope-point form. Okay, so hey, can anybody look at this equation here and tell me what the slope is? Can anybody look at this equation here and tell me what the slope is? It's negative 2. Can anybody tell me what the point is? I hear negative 4, 1. Is that person correct? Yes. Because otherwise, this is supposed to be subtract, right? So that means it has to be a minus 4. And this is a subtract, so that means this is positive 1. Okay, what point is on that line there? First off, what's the slope? Oh, shoot, I guess this is the next question I just answered. There you go. I answered my own question before I actually read the next question. It's the same equation. Okay, just to summarize here, I'm going to make one up here, okay? Y minus 3 equals 2x plus 1. Who can tell me the slope? 2. Who can tell me the coordinate? Negative 1, 3. Bingo. Okay, so y? Okay, so again, we're comparing it to point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Okay, so my coordinate is going to be x1 comma y1. Okay, so there is my y1. That's how the person said 3 is the y. And there is my x1. However, because this sign changed, that means my x1 must be, it's really written like this in disguise. So that means my x was actually -1. Okay? Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use point slope form. They're giving you the point right here. Do you see that point? What's that point there? 3, 1. Okay? And what is the slope of this line? They're saying use this point right here and find the slope of the line. So we're going down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what's my slope? -4 over 6 or -2 over 3. Okay, so let's put this together. What's the equation of my line? Y -1 equals -2 over 3 x. Is it +3? No, it's -3. There we go. From there. Again, I'm substituting it into the form, and if you're having concerns here, write it out. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1, which derives from the slope formula, right? Okay. So now we're going to take this and change it into slope-intercept form. Does everybody remember what slope-intercept form was? Y equals mx plus b. That's why it's called slope-intercept form, because I can read the slope and the y-intercept. Everybody remember that? Okay, so we're going to take this and rewrite it into that. How do I do that? How do I do that? Huh? I need to multiply the slope into the two terms there, right? So y minus 1 equals, what's -2/3 times x? -2/3 x. What's -2 over 3 times -3? Is it -2 or +2? +2. How did I get that? -2 over 3 times -3. Do you see the 3's cancel? Minus minus makes a plus, right? +2. Okay, what's my last step? I need to move the 1 over. So what's my final equation? Y equals -2 over 3x. If I move the 1 over, what does the 2 become? +3. Let's look at our graph here. Is that +3 where the y-intercept is? Yeah, and if I go from that point down to over 3, do I get to that other point? Do you see they're the same thing? Just another form of it. Okay, let's look at this one here. It's saying the graph of y equals -1/2 x plus 2 is given below. Write an equation for the line that passes through A, which is 4, 3, and parallel to that line. So now we're going to put this all together now. Remember what parallel means? What? And so same slope means the slope is m equals -1/2. So they're giving you the slope and they're giving you a point. I don't know why they're giving you the graph, but maybe that way you can see if you're right. You don't need the graph to do this. So now we're going to put it all together. Remember our form again for point slope form? So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's faster if you're given a slope and a point, just to put it together in slope point form. There's no reason to put it in y-intercept form because you don't know what the y-intercept is, right? If you have a point and a slope, put it together with point slope form. So remember, y minus y1 equals slope x minus x1. So I'll give you a second to put this together, okay? Answer here. Oh my, okay. Okay, does everybody understand? The 4, 3 is your x1, y1. The negative 1/2 from this equation, because it's parallel, that is the slope. And then you just directly substitute that in. So in this m, you're going to put negative 1/2. In the x1, you're putting a 4. In the y1, you're putting a 3. So then it becomes y subtract 3 equals negative 1/2 x subtract 4. Okay? The subtract is part of the formula, because remember when we did slope formula? It was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We're subtracting, right? That's where the subtract comes from. It's not coming from the point. The only time that the subtract becomes a plus is if the coordinate is a negative, which we'll see in a second here. Okay, let's try this one. By the way, I saw some people multiplying this out. If it doesn't ask you for slope-intercept form, do not multiply it out. Stop right there. You probably have it correct. Some of you multiplied it out and made a mistake, so then I have to deduct marks, okay? So, by the way, if you want me to multiply this out, again, you don't need, it didn't ask you to do this. When you multiply this in, you get y minus 3 equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. Move the 3 over, I get y equals negative 1/2 x plus 5. So the people that did that, that was the correct answer if you were putting it into slope-intercept form. But when you multiplied it in, some of you made a mistake. So again, this is, I would stop right here. It doesn't ask you to do anything else. Anyways, now we're going on to perpendicular. Okay, so what do we know about perpendicular lines? They're not the same slope, yes? Yes, the slope is negative reciprocals. Remember, we switch the sign and then we reciprocate. We change the numerator to denominator, denominator to numerator. So if this line right here is the equation y equals 2/3 x plus 6, what slope am I using? Negative 3 over 2. Does everybody see why it is negative 3 over 2? Then it's saying you have to go through the point negative 4, 1. Put it into point slope form because they give you the slope, they give you the point, put it into point slope form. Okay, go. I'll give you a second to do it. Yeah, so sorry, I don't know, I guess when I retype this part, it does say right in a line that's perpendicular. This should be perpendicular. Okay. So you should get y minus 1 equals negative 3 over 2 x minus 4, so that's a plus 4. Does everybody see why it ends up being plus 4? Yep. Because it's subtract negative 4, we write it as plus 4. And that's all I got here.